Good evening, everybody. Today I'm going to talk still about some references relating to legal translation, which might be useful for some of the students or those who are interested in legal translation. Of course, the first thing you need to do is to use some monolingual dictionaries. And of course, monolingual dictionaries such as Macmillan Dictionary, which has got a section for legal documents and parts of legal documents which you can actually use. There's also Nolo dictionary, which is online dictionary, which is legal. A third one, which is a dictionary of law, and you have to subscribe for that one. And this one is Oxford reference. But these are for monolingual references. Bilingual ones are Al-Faruqi in English and Arabic, Arabic English, which is a legal dictionary. Also, there's Cambridge Dictionary, which you can use, and it is online. There are other dictionaries like WordPress, which can be useful for bilingual dictionaries. Moving on to the textbooks. Textbooks, there are many, quite a few ones. There's one by Hanem Farhati, El-Farhati, which is legal translation. It's published in 2015 by Routledge. There's also Hatem and Shunnaq and Bachley, the late Shunnaq, Allah yarhamu. They've done that in 1995. It's called The Legal Translator at Work, which is very useful as a practical guide. There are also Muhammad Ali Sabra, which is Al-Uqud al-Madaniyya. Of course, you can go for, if you are going to the international law, then you can have to go for Basil Hatem's book, 1997, published by Saqi, which is English, Arabic English translation, a practical guide. Now, these are the books. Of course, websites. There are lots of websites. You can go to the Ministry's website, Ministry of Justice website. For some of these documents, you can go to the courts and look at the courts locally. What are the types of courts that are available? Like, for example, in Saudi Arabia, there's a Rajul as a website, which you can use as well. There are also international websites that's got legal documents there, and both in English and Arabic and other languages as well, especially if these organizations are UN organizations such as IAEA, which is in 6 languages, and the UN, of course, 6 languages. Among them is the Arabic and English and French, and Russian, and Chinese. And there's also the International Court of Justice, which is also has got 6 languages, so you can look at it in English and Arabic and other languages as well. There is also the International Court, Criminal Court, which is this one is only in English and French. By the way, the International Court of Justice is in Hague, and in Arabic the word Hague is what? The word Hague is, I'll leave that to you to actually work out what the word Hague in Arabic. So the ICC, which is the International Court of Criminal Justice, Criminal Court, sorry. This one is also a website there, which is in French and English. I'm sure you're actually thinking about what is Hague now. Hague is La Haye in Arabic, just for you to be aware of. Of course, you can go also to websites that are not only European or UN, but you can go for some that are locally, regionally, like the Arab League, for example. In the Arab League, Al-Jama al-Arabiyya, there is a section for legal affairs, which you can tap into and look at and see whether you can actually get some terminology which you like and might use and will be useful. Also, the Arab League is one. There's the GCC, which is the Gulf Council countries, country states. These are this one is also has got some rules and regulations which are also related to legal translation, and you can look at them in English and Arabic. And of course, you can also, if you find any comments on them, you can always send these comments to these websites, because I'm sure they will be interested to see what kind of feedback they get from you with regards to the legal language used there, if you have any other points to actually raise and talk about. Now, in terms of how do you start a course in legal translation, of course, you can start by talking about civil contracts and legal proceedings or procedures, perhaps, which is murafa'at. And then you can look at them. For example, Hanem el-Farhati, legal translation, which is published in 2015, can be useful here in highlighting some of the historical events that are related to legal language and legal translation, where she talks about the actual some history about legal discourse in Arabic and English, and also talks about some features in that one here. So, of course, when we look at the actual layout of a document, you need to know that the document, the legal document, is formulaic. In other words, it has a certain formula which you have to follow. It has to be non-evaluative, objective, unemotive in its diction, and closely knit in its texture, and there are no gaps or margins. So in a parchment, because they don't want to include, or it will give space for someone to actually tamper with or change the document. That's why there are no margins left out. And of course, legal documents, they are trying to regulate through instructions, as Bassel Hatem says. It's instructional in terms of text type. Therefore, it has got specific elements to them. Now, in terms of the, you can see there is an absence of punctuation, for example, or lack of it, perhaps. You find that there is also attention to paragraph division. The paragraphs are divided in certain ways. Every time there is a new concept, a new para is given. Also, capitalization is different. Only the parties concerned, المعنيين, الأطراف المعنية أو الطرفان المعنيان, they are capitalized. So you say company and employee, for example. Sometimes you don't even use the in legal language. Indentation, lettering, upper and lower cases. Of course, it's uppercase because you are starting either at the beginning of the document, or there's a decision to be made. So that's why they write the word witnessed in uppercase, all the words. In uppercase means all the letters are capitalized, as opposed to capital letter. Capital letter means you only capitalize the first letter. But when you write a word in uppercase, it means you write the whole word in capital form. Each letter is a capital form. More features relating to legal documents is the use of terms that are of French or Latin origin. This is another feature which you need to be aware of. Also, archaic words that end with the suffix th, that is, as in witness, witnessed, or doth. You know, these are archaic words, and they are used from the Middle English. They're used to give formality, of course, the same as the French and Latin words. They are giving formalities. There's also unusual sequences in the actual clauses and phrases that are used in a sentence. And the sentence, of course, is self-contained unit. In other words, it doesn't connect to any of the other adjacent sentences. So there is no co-text, what's called co-text, i.e. it's not linked to any other parts of the text. So the sentence will be long and complex and full of these unusual post-modifying elements where they are put in odd places in order to eliminate ambiguity, because you need to have the document free of ambiguity, and that is why they are actually included in that way. Also, there is no use of the word which or who or that. the relative pronouns. They don't use them because these are in order not to confuse matters and say what does it refer back to, the word which or the word who. Is it the first party or second party? So always they repeat that. Repetition is very common, repetition, lexical repetition. They will say the company does this, employee does that. Company does this, employee does that. So company, 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 repetition. Employee, 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 so on. Landlord, 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 صاحب الأرض or صاحب العقار. And tenant, tenant, tenant. So they don't say he or she. There are no pronouns as well. And that brings me to the pronouns. Pronouns are hardly used except for the word it, which when it is like it will be legal. So it's very limited. Even it itself is not used that much there. There is also the excessive use of passive forms. Even the passive form like be paid or be considered, they split them sometimes and they put in between them some phrases to make it this odd, what I said just earlier, odd sequences within the same sentence, because the sentence will have two clauses or three clauses inside the actual sentence. I mean by clause here is the in structure, because the word clause also in legal terms it means condition or a certain provision, يعني شرط. So you include a new clause in the contract, for example, it means you are including a new provision, a new شرط يعني جديد في العقد مثلا. So you include a new provision if you got a certain condition that you want to actually implement in the contract. So there is excessive use of passive forms are used. The word same, sometimes they say, and the same will be considered, or shall be considered, or shall be done. The word the same is actually usually the head of a noun phrase, and it's a well-known use of this word in order not to repeat the same phrase again earlier. So this is yet another element of that are relating to features of legal discourse. There are also gerundive constructions, i.e. ones that are relating to either adverbial clauses with the main clause. The adverbial clause will be something like reaching the river, we set a camp, or set up a camp. Reaching the river is actually relating to the temporal, i.e. when we reach the river. And this is very common in also in legal documents where you say reaching or doing or achieving or remaining and so on. A very common kind of phrase or construction which is done. Also the adverbial that is causative. If you do this, or conditional, if this is done, then whatever is done. So, I mean, let's move on to another very important point about the translators themselves. What should they do about these different features? How do they translate them? What do they do with them? Of course, we need to keep to the same word order as translators. So you must adhere to the ST syntax in terms of word order. And we've seen that formulaic structure, which is highly formulaic, we need to keep it that way. Also, we need to adhere to the ST semantics or semantics, that is to focus on the denotative meaning of the words, no connotative meanings. Okay, so there is no connotations to be interpret the contract in a different way. That's why, in order not to make the contract be interpreted in too many ways, they tend to use the denotative meaning of it. And that's why they use that quite a lot. Also, in the denotative meaning, sometimes they use synonyms like